So I'm here today with Absolute Bandits, Tom and Oakley. We're going to go through an individual assessment to look at their physical capabilities and how that crosses over into their swing mechanics. They're both looking at wanting to improve their driver consistency. Oakley through a little bit more distance and consistency, and Tom trying to look at a little bit more stability throughout the golf swing. Just to get started, we're just going to go for a really simple golf-specific dynamic warm-up. So using a resistance band is going to help with activating the bigger muscles for golf. Just stretch the band apart and pull it towards the chest. Now that might feel a little bit harder than it looks, but that's just trying to get those shoulder muscles, those postural muscles, activated, engaged, warmed up, ready to move. Oof. Stand tall as possible and then try and do an overhead reach, trying to almost create a Y shape at the top, okay? So you've got a bit of tension on the band.
Getting in my chest as well, actually.
Yeah, I think I might get one of these for home. That's quite nice.
Stand with your feet like in a squat setup, like imagine a driver. Apply some tension on the band through pushing the knees out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you should feel almost like a little bit of engagement through those glute muscles. Arms at chest height, and in a controlled manner, I want you to squat down, pulling that band as tight as you possibly can, and then just stand it back up and repeat, okay?
Oh, repeat?
Repeat. So essentially
we're doing it was a one max kind of job.
We're doing a squatting motion, but with the band to get some added engagement.
Take it in, guys. Oakley working legs. It's a rarity. Check out my dad legs. You don't get this from going to the gym.
You're just going to walk to one side, keeping as much tension on the band. So you almost feel like you're pushing both knees in opposite directions. That's it. Like it. Give it a little bit extra postural control.
Get the old crab going. Thought I'd love this.
So keep going until you start to feel a little bit of burn.
Well, you've already felt the burn from the first one.
Now, whichever leg you've got at the front, I want you to try and turn into.
And this is the warm-up, you say?
This is the warm-up.
All right, okay, cool.
But if you're not used to a warm-up, it will feel a little bit more intense than it actually is.
So what you're saying is, straight from the car to the first tee is not the way to go?
It's not always beneficial. But now we're going to start to hit some balls, work the way through the bag until we get to driver, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a swing analysis to figure out what's going on as a starting point. So Tom, just a question for you. You've obviously said stability.
Yes.
You feel like you lose, like, what, balance?
Quite often, I'll lose driver right, I'm coming backwards.
Okay.
Sometimes I can be falling forwards and almost be hard pulling it left.
Okay, okay.
I think just a lot of that I feel like comes from just poor stability, just not keeping myself rooted or dynamically.
You feel like you're kind of all over the place at times
a little
and
bit,
can't control that club.
Yeah, when I'm swinging it at best is when I feel good. I feel quite good at the moment.
Okay,
but,
okay. Yeah, that gives you a little bit of an insight then, sort of more how you feel connected to the ground at higher speeds potentially.
Yeah, I think obviously the longer the club, the worse it kind of gets.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yesterday I went to the range, I was trying to work on a draw, which I haven't had in about 7 months.
Right, okay.
Shanking everything.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just trying to hit them kind of straight and I'm getting that draw, so I think it's an alignment thing more than anything currently. Okay. But yeah, I don't feel too bad over the ball at the moment, which is nice. Good. He says before he see how we get on with this.
How tall are you?
6'2".
6'2", okay. So tall individual, which obviously means a lot of lever length, a lot of your centre of gravity naturally is higher from the ground, which means then how you utilise the ground to control yourself is really, really essential. Yeah. The first thing we notice is the width of stance, which is obviously how we have a base of support and how stable we can be, is very narrow for someone of your height, even with an iron, something like a mid-iron. So I would straight away, I want you to just address the ball, okay? And we see straight away, we can almost see your feet are probably hip width apart. Yeah. Now for your height, wide shoulders, we'd want roughly at least shoulder width apart with those feet slightly open, okay? Because that's going to help, the feet slightly open is going to help traction the floor a little bit more, move the hips and pelvis a bit more effectively, which is almost instantly going to give you more stability throughout the swing. Okay? So that's just using those balls just as a simple visual, and then we're just going to hit some as normal.
That's probably the best one today, actually, to be fair.
That's changed how you've moved your hips in a more positive way, almost just instantly.
That's what we're here for. That's a 189 yard flipping 8-iron. What's going on there? 194 yards an 8-iron. That is, well, I mean, I don't know if that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous.
You'd say a very good ball speed with an 8-iron would be high 120s.
Sure,
so
okay.
that is actually, that will be pretty accurate. That's very good. Okay, so first tip we're going to give Tom, and again, this isn't a physical thing, this is more of a biomechanical technical issue, is just alignment. Tom says he struggles with stability and struggles with maybe some consistency of the start direction or where the ball finishes off to the right when you hit it bad. Now, in your alignment, we see you're quite shut to your target, which when you're shut, if you're someone who wants to see a draw more, that means you're going to have to really be able to rotate and move the club in the same directions as your body. And if you don't, that's going to promote you to pull the club over the top to try and almost pull it on line.
Okay.
And then that, as soon as you go with a longer club, that's going to lead to all types of inconsistencies and that inability to rotate freely, which then will feel like you can't actually get through the ball.
Right.
When we're pulling that club down, if we stop rotating, the natural thing we're going to do to try and hit the ball is stand up on it.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
So the first thing I want you to do is, what's your target?
The yellow flag.
I'm just going to set your feet in alignment to where that target should be. Good. Good.
Yeah, it did feel like I got through a lot easier.
Yes. Now what you've actually done there, I mean, that's a beautiful flight. Yeah. And that's actually about, although you think your target, although you think you've missed your target by 20 yards, let's say there, the ball's actually come out more or less dead straight. For 144 ball speed, I'd say that's really solid.
Sure.
Yeah, really solid.
If it can go on target.
Exactly, exactly.
All right, so I'm going to try now.
So what's clear, you do develop a lot of speed.
Yeah.
That's evident, which again, comes back to tall individual.
Long levers.
Long levers, but because you're creating a lot of what we call force, you need a strong base
to get it,
to be able to control that.
Oh, that was the best one. That was unbelievable. That was piped. I'm not even hitting another one of that. That was so good. That was 240 off the deck. That is so good. I'm happy with that. Right, if you guys want to see a treat, 3-wood off the deck. This never goes well. Can't hit it better than that. 153 ball speed. I'm taking that all day long. Wider hips.
It's such an advantage having that speed and power, but you just need to know how to use it rather than remove it. Your ball speed's in the low to mid 160s.
Yeah.
With a 120 club head speed, if that was more efficient, you're capable of close to 180 ball speed.
So it's funny because I've just come out of hitting them a lot straighter in there, coming here, now I'm hitting them right.
Yeah.
And I can feel that I'm doing something different, but I can't work out what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just can't marry the two together. I know I can feel that I'm doing it wrong.
What am I doing different?
Yeah.
It don't feel right, but there's no kind of starting point to why that is.
Yeah.
Okay, and that to me is a big foundation of that is alignment. Okay, so we've done the analysis. We've got a clear viewpoint of what's potentially causing both individual problems. We're going to just have a look at potentially some physical capabilities now, more around mobility of the hips and the thoracic spine. So you go in open, exactly that, and then you're going to go the other way, so inwards essentially. And you're going to try and move both directions and then control it. Very good.
Actually, when I'm doing that, I feel it on this hip.
Feel a little bit of cramping in there. Yeah, which is a little bit from the hamstring. Pulling like one of your big toes towards you, keeping your one leg straight, and you need to raise it in the air as far as you can. Hands on hips, nice and tall. You've got to do this quite slow and controlled. I want you to rotate as far as you can in one direction, and then as far as you can the other direction, so to the left. So we've just looked at some basic hip function there. Both of you are more than good enough, so there's no reason why you would essentially
be as bad as they are
in a certain way. So we know this is straight away already maybe comes down to understanding of how to move the body, awareness, or how you've been taught, and that's something we can make some improvements on quite quickly. So we're here just measuring what we call thoracic spine rotation. This is the rib cage, how the rib cage rotates properly in the golf swing, or whether it has the capacity to rotate how we want it to. And see straight away, there's a limitation. Does that feel very restricted?
My shoulders are so tight.
Yeah.
I can't actually get any further than that.
Okay, cool. So straight away, we know there's a limitation more with your upper body. The interesting thing is you over-rotate your upper body in the golf swing. So essentially, in the backswing, to get this longer move, and that might be your power source, something we call hand path length, you essentially go really far back and you keep going to the point where then the upper body tips towards the ball, and you lose something called loss of tilts, okay? Which is essentially means that upper body hasn't stretched and stretched through the hips in the correct way to store the right energy to be able to deliver the club a little bit more efficiently.
If you prescribe me 10 massages, I'm not going to say no to that. I can accommodate that.
I want you to try and rotate the hands as far back as you can.
That's getting my rear delts. Well, what's this?
Yep, rear delts.
Rear delts, that's crushing it.
That's crushing it, okay.
Yeah.
Arms out in front, locked at the elbows, hands straight, and then you can just do an overhead reach as far as you can. Yeah, so you see, straight away with Tom, we can see the elbows want to bend, okay? Now, Tom, you have some issues around the shoulders that you've already mentioned, and there's also a clear limitation. We're looking at some dominance through the front of the shoulder joint, and a lack of flexibility or something we call extensibility through the lat muscles, those big power lat muscles. They play a key role in how the upper body stretches to be able to produce some space and width, which is something already that you demonstrate there's a little bit of limitation with that, okay? So we've got a couple of key limitations there that correlate to maybe some of your movement patterns. Let's go through two key things, then we'll go back out onto the range just to see if we can practice that. And then that's a starting point away from here where I'll prescribe some exercises to help with some of the physical side, okay?
Sure.
So the first thing we're going to focus on for both of these guys is around address posture in the golf swing. Posture is massively important because it creates the foundations of everything else that's to follow in the backswing and then into the downswing. We talked about, for you Oakley, about widening the stance. That was something postural related. I mentioned more alignment for you because if the alignment's one part of the body shut, we tend to try and twist and open up another part of the body, and then we can cause some issues with rotation and how we move through the ground. A starting point for all golfers, and for both of you in particular, is what is good posture? What should we be looking for in a dress setup, and how then we can actually apply that? So the starting point would be, if I was to ask you to stand with your feet roughly hip width apart, and just do a really simple jump in the air for me, like that. Okay? Now, if you was to jump, and then when you jump, land as high as you can, I want you to try and control your landing as best as possible. So you're really sticking your landing. Good. So what we see there straight away, in order to create some stability on landing, did you notice what you did?
I feel like I did a wind up with my arms.
Okay.
My feet spread apart.
Feet spread apart. So naturally, if I'm coming in from a greater height, in order to control that and basically de-accelerate my body, both you guys gave a wider stance, a wider base. Now that's no different to the golf swing. If we kind of land really narrow, we're quite jelly-like. We don't have that stability, we don't have that control. And it's the same with the golf swing. If we have too narrow feet or not the correct width based on the amount of force and pushing through the ground, we're already kind of limiting how we stabilize up through the body. If you look at the width of your stance there, roughly that is the width we'd be looking for with a driver. Okay?
I'm going to do that on the golf course. I'm going to look like a right oval. Every tee I'll be like,
quick
bah, there we go.
Why is there, like everything you've made us do, like we end up in a natural state?
Yeah.
Why don't we just do that with a golf swing? Like, why is it not a natural thing?
I think golf is probably the most over-analysed sport there is from a movement perspective. No other sport really do you look at the movement in such hyper detail if you think about that logically. And that's probably because it's a static sport, as the ball's not moving. And it's also probably related to understanding how can we change how the body moves to get a longer term improvement rather than just like a quick fix sort of thing.
Got you.
I want you to stand really tall with your hands open. What do you feel with your upper body?
Yeah, chest open.
Chest out, okay? So the chest is out, head feels tall. We've essentially got the rib cage expanded, so we're not in a kind of a crunched position, okay? From here, if I was to say I want you to softly feel like you just let your body weight sit into the floor slightly, where you feel some pressure into the both feet, you should feel those knees soften slightly. Yeah. Now from there, I want you to keep that position, and I want you to slowly push your hips backwards. So you're not sticking your bum out, we're pushing the hips behind us. So you should almost feel probably a little bit of pressure move backwards slightly, okay? And it's quite a subtle thing, exactly that. See how the knees stay in line with the feet. You see how the posture, the upper back can be kept the same. You see how now those shoulder blades are sat open or in their natural state. You should feel your shoulder blades. You don't need to try and pin them back, but you can see that they're sat. If we was just to slowly bring the hands together, you should be able to feel those shoulder blades stay relatively in the same position, so not significantly round. So you kind of set that feeling, soften the knees.
So I feel like that's the sort of feeling there.
Yeah, so if you look in the mirror, Oakley, can you see?
I can see it and I can feel it in my lower back a lot more.
Yeah, so you're going to feel probably a little bit of pulling in the lower back, but that's because we're getting some engagement through the right areas, and that's actually already set in a more stable position. Now for Tom, I want you to feel like you're going to stand a little bit further away from the ball. So imagine that's your ball, and you're going to come shuffle maybe half an inch back. That's it. That's it. And you see straight away how we've got some really good set-up lines. Now if I try and push, these hips want to be quite strong and stable, and in order to do that we need to have the right width. So if I say a little bit wider stance, just a little bit, you can see straight away we've got a lot more solid base. And then the second thing we're going to do, we're going to focus on how to move or load the trail hip. So both of you, your right hip, how to move into that right hip properly so it's stable, and then that allows your upper body to be able to move a little bit more effectively, because both of you Oakley, essentially don't go into your right side, okay? You stay quite left side, hence why you lean at the top. And for you, Tom, you don't actually get any turn. So you don't get into the right hip, which then means the upper body's got to kind of find a way to organise. Just show me how you'd turn in the backswing for me. What do you feel in the right foot? Anything?
Kind of like pushing down into it.
Okay, good.
And also
from the inside of my foot feels like it's pushing in more.
Okay, good, good.
And I feel quite a stretch here.
Okay, I want you to try and rotate this open for me, but giving as much pressure into the floor as possible. So basically you're trying to stop it from rotating while turning.
Okay.
If you rotate that but give as much pressure, you're going to feel the hip there. That's your feeling.
Okay.
Can you see straight away how much you move more into that right side?
I think it would be really good, now that I have got that, to actually hit a couple on the range. Because I've had that thought before, but I've gone straight onto the course, and that's a disaster. Because I'm trying to change too many things at once. But having that, I haven't done it like this before.
Okay, good.
And like you said earlier, it was from watching a YouTube video, like use the ground wall, this sort of stuff. What they don't show you is how often they practice it. So,
so for you, it's that feeling, you see how much more turn, which helps you, because you're a bit limited through the shoulders, that helps you turn the upper body naturally more. And it's the same for you, because this rib cage doesn't want to turn. So if you just keep this hip static, so don't move it, and then try and turn your upper body. See how that's not, we know you're limited there, so you just lift your hands. And that's why you get a big, long swing, but it overturns. So let's go hit some, just applying that golf posture and we'll keep it as simple as that.
I mean, I feel like I hit it a lot hard. It felt like really good contact.
But you know, the key is not to overthink about it. It's just to kind of create a very simple feel of the right, moving into the right foot a little bit better.
I feel like I can swing much better. I feel I've got like no control, but I feel like I can turn through a lot easier, if that makes sense.
That was good. That was a good shot.
Felt like nice contact. It felt like I compressed it really well.
Straight away, there's a lot more stability from you there, Tom.
So much better. So yeah, a massive thank you to Sam, giving us some things to think about. Obviously, we're about to get out there onto the course and play an 18-hole match. So fingers crossed, it actually might cut a few shots off for us. Had some really nice strikes there towards the end. Thank you once again, my friend.
Pleasure.
And yeah, looking forward to getting
Good work, guys. Good
getting
work
out there.